Ask Claude anything and it answers. Ask it to open one file on your laptop and it simply can't. This is Learn MCP from the NBX Studio. By the end of this chapter, you'll know what Claude actually is, what it genuinely cannot touch on its own, and which single part of a Claude call MCP goes on to fill. No MCP code, yet just the shape of the thing, so that nothing later feels like magic. Let's start with the thing nobody says out loud. Claude is not a program sitting on your computer. It runs on Anthropic's machines, and you talk to it over the internet. You send text, it sends text back, and that is the entire relationship, which means that on its own, it cannot open your files. It cannot read your database. It cannot see your calendar or post a message in your Slack. And none of that is a permission you forgot to switch on. There is simply no way for it to reach across that line. So, how does any AI app you have ever used actually do anything? Your code does it. Claude replies in ordinary text saying what it wants, and your code, which lives on your side of the line, goes and does the work, then hands the result back. Your files, your database, your calendar, all reachable now, but only ever through you. That is the whole trick, and every tool, every integration, every agent you have used works exactly this way. And MCP, the entire subject of this course, is nothing more than an agreed way of describing what sits on your side of that line so that Claude can ask for it by name. So here is how you send that text. It is one function call, and this is all of it. You import the client and create it, and it quietly reads your key out of an environment variable, which is why you never see the key in the code. Then messages.create sends the conversation and waits. That single call is the entire API. Everything else you'll ever write is arguments to it. Model picks which Claude answers, and sonnet is the fast, affordable one. Max tokens is a ceiling on the reply, not a target, so a high ceiling costs nothing by itself. And messages is the conversation so far, where every entry carries a role, either user or assistant. The reply comes back as a list of content blocks, which is why you index into it rather than printing the message directly. Here's the part that trips people up, and this one matters enormously later. The API is stateless. Claude doesn't remember your last message. There's no session on their side holding your conversation. So when you want a second turn, you send the whole thing again. Your first message, Claude's reply, and your new question, all in one list. That's why the messages list keeps growing, and why a long chat costs more than a short one. You're resending the entire history on every single call. 3 messages here, and all 3 go over the wire. Hold on to that, because in a few chapters you'll watch a loop append tool results to this exact list. Quick check before we go on. To run that file, what do you actually need? Just Python, because Claude is built in, or the Anthropic package and an API key. Have a think, and pause the video if you would like a moment. Ready? You need the package and a key. There's no model on your machine. That call goes over the internet to Anthropic servers, and the key is how they know it's you. One more argument, and it's the reason this whole course exists. Alongside messages, the call takes tools, a list describing functions Claude is allowed to ask for. Each one is a name, a description Claude reads to decide when it's useful, and a schema saying what arguments it takes. Claude never runs those functions. Claude just replies saying which one it wants and with what inputs, and your code does the running. So the question the rest of this course answers is simply, where does that list come from? Writing it by hand for GitHub, for Slack, for your database, forever is the problem. MCP is the answer, and now you know exactly which argument MCP is filling. For things to install, and then we'll never do setup again. First, Python 3.10 or newer, because the MCP SDK needs the newer typing features. Second, UV, which is a Python package manager that's dramatically faster than pip and is what the MCP docs assume you're using. Third, the SDK itself. Note the square brackets around CLI. That pulls in the command line tools as well as the library, and you'll want them. And fourth, your key, exported in the shell so the client can find it. Python, UV, the SDK, and a key. That's the whole list. 3 things to carry forward. Claude runs on Anthropic's machines and cannot reach anything on yours. Your code is the only thing standing on both sides of that line. And the call that talks to it takes a model, a ceiling, the conversation, and a list of tools, which is the argument MCP exists to fill. Not using Claude? The same ideas hold. Every major model has an equivalent call, and MCP itself is model agnostic. Next chapter, what MCP actually is and why it exists at all.